Now, are you a words of affirmation guy?
I think gifts. I think running shoes work.
Yeah. Today's guest, even if you've never met him, you already know him. He's a jag. Just a guy. Just a guy. He's a dad. He likes to run. He's just a guy like you and me, except for his massive amount of cinematic talent. The Spielberg of YouTube. Maybe Guy Ritchie. We'll go Guy Ritchie on that one. Behind the camera, in front of the camera, to the side of camera. He is talented. His talent is surround sound. Aubrey Digital. His personality, in a word, jovial. Grounded, grateful. Aubrey is a vibe, like The Weeknd, but longer. Aubrey is a week. He makes running content on YouTube, which as a runner I love, but his content is so entertaining I would watch him even if he had a botany channel. And I don't eat vegetables, so above all else, his biggest strength is that Aubrey is good at being Aubrey. Do I have that correct?
Absolutely.
Oh, is there any fact checking that I need to do there?
Keep going. I'm not gonna stop you. Keep going.
Now, are you a words of affirmation guy?
I think gifts. I think running shoes work.
Yeah. What size are you?
I'm a UK 9.5, which is 10.5 your side, I think.
Okay. Well, I can't gift you any running shoes because you will fit into my nines. But I do have some words. So you've been subscribed to the channel for a little bit. I've been subscribed to your channel for a little bit. I've been wanting to talk to you for quite some time. I couldn't have you on because you were only 39. You know, you're a little too spry still. But now that you've hit 40, welcome to midlife. How you feeling?
You know what? Thanks to running, I haven't felt this good in a long time. I haven't felt this challenged in a long time, So I want to say, man, no changes over here, apart from maybe I might podium one day because of age groups. If I choose for like a very small local run somewhere, and then there's like only one guy or two guys that are over 40, I might podium. So, there's that as a plus side.
Yeah, manifest. It's going to happen. No, it's good, bro. You're Benjamin Button. You're going the other way, man. You're getting younger. Like I said before, we're dipping our toes into interviews, and I'm doing it format-based. So today's topic is how we got started into running later in life. Now, before I get into your why, I think we need to qualify you first. So in my experience, every beginner's journey passage begins with two things: shin splints and the Nike app. Tell me, have you experienced either of these?
Oh, man. I know Coach Bennett like the back of my hand. So the Nike running app, absolutely. Honestly, even though you put it in there, it was the first app I ever used. Coach Bennett's plans. Unfortunately, the shin splint still plague me till this day. So both of those I can absolutely sort of empathize with. I'll add one more though: getting permission, aligning with family, because suddenly there's all this change that happens, and you sort of have to align to a plan. Well, that time was usually either cartoon time, which means maybe you need to go do a run beforehand, before cartoon time, or a school run, or whatever, bedtime. And I think that to me was the biggest change. And to be honest, it's why I made a lot of time for you, because it's that side of running that we don't necessarily see, the reality of parenting and whatever midlife comes with. And I think it's a niche of yours that I truly respect, because I've got plenty of time for dads.
I was watching Kafuzi, and I had just gotten into running, and I went down the rabbit hole, and he was answering a question, and he said, yeah, before running became a part of my personality, and I was like, wait, what? Is running a part of my personality? Am I a runner? Because I think what goes into it for me anyway was there's a lot of imposter syndrome, insecurity. I didn't buy race shoes, like carbon plated shoes, for almost 2 years, like a year and 9 months, because I thought, I'm not going to spend all that money on that. Those are for really fast people, real runners. I've got some endorphin speeds. They're great. I'm training them, I'm running them, I'm racing them. And, but I'm not a runner. I'm not a guy with a sticker on my car. But as that became a reality, I agree, man. I think incorporating the family stuff. So just before I hit record, my oldest came in here looking for their headphones, you know, and they you know, it's a balance for them too, because they're like, are you running? It's like, yeah, you come run with me. You want to run with me? You know, they're like, well, you know, you're good, Dad. What I like about your channel is that you incorporate all the family, you know, into the YouTube, into the running and everything too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's part of midlife, man.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. And I think I was trying my best to find a way of doing this. And as you say, I'm not ashamed to admit this. But you get into this YouTube space, you watch Ekofuzi, and where I am, you watch an Ed Bud, the run testers, the Ben is running, and you somehow try and emulate what they're doing. Before you know it, you're parroting these things, and things just don't line up. I realized that whilst I felt like an imposter, the things that made me feel like an imposter were probably my selling points. The fact that as you introduced me, I think Eric Floberg might take that Spielberg title because his content is fire. But I was very intentional about making sure that my content looks a certain way. And when you watch the content, you would think maybe there's a production company behind this guy, and therefore this guy must be a serious runner. Oh no, I'm running 10K in like an hour 5, an hour and 10 minutes. And so for the first time, some people were seeing somebody that runs like them, but in a way that is produced like, you know, the Believe in the Runs, these big channels. Mm-hmm. And I realized that's my strength. The fact that I might not be that great. And I even incorporated that into my intros, the slogan that I'm a very average runner, you know, simply trying to get better by the day. And that stuck. And I realized my imposter syndrome wasn't justified anymore if I owned what might otherwise be perceived as my weakness. One time I'm trying to record, and this kid comes saying we should go play PlayStation. I'm like, wait, let me finish recording this first. Again, I'm playing, and Olivia wants to, and I realize I can't be trying, you know what? Let's just film what we're going to do. Whatever it is we're going to do, you guys jump in. If I'm going to a running event, Josiah, do you want to come? Yes. And now Josiah is somehow part of my channel, and it's just sort of gelled in because I embraced what may have been either a weakness or an inconvenience to what I'm trying to do. And it's now sort of led me into this path of just being who I am, I guess.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think part of being a beginner or just getting into running is you start looking around at paces, you know, and I had one thing where I thought pace was just fixed. You know, when we're kids, we all run, right? And there's the quickest ones in the front, and they're just born that way, and the slowest ones in the back, they're just born that way. Everyone's just born that way. You can get a couple of seconds faster in a sprint, you know, but I mean, it's it, you know, and I didn't know that you could develop your aerobic base and you could get faster, especially later in life. And so I always looked and was like, man, there's so many fast people in this world, but I still felt really slow. And I paced my wife. She got it running. I didn't, love is not controlling. I did not push her in that direction at all, but she did a 10K because her friend signed up for it. And she did it. Her goal was to break 90 minutes. She did an hour and 27. And she's like, you know, don't say that out loud, you know, like, oh, it's so embarrassing. I said, you didn't finish last place. There are people who finished behind you. I said, there's always someone faster. There's always someone behind you. You don't have to feel ashamed about your speed or whatever, or any of that stuff. And to the family point, my middle child, you know, sometimes he's my very best camera operator. And, you know, we were going to do like a 5K time trial at the track, and he was going to ride his bike around. But his buddy had a Fortnite tournament, and so he had to go do that. And then he's like, sorry, Dad, sorry. I was like, hey, man, you have a childhood, man. Go, you know, have fun. I was like, it's all good, you know. You're not obligated in any way to do any of this stuff. I love you, buddy, you know. And so now I want to ask, how long have you been running now? Like, when did you get into running?
Running as I know it now, maybe a year and a half to 2 years. As I know it. Before, I'd be in the gym and you have to do cardio, that kind of stuff. So I would try it here or there. I would pick up some shoes and run. There was no structure to what I was doing and that kind of thing until I actually realized I was very bad at running. I wasn't that good. I've got this personality, and I get very obsessed with something. Kind of get it holds me, and I have to get better at it. And it's the same thing that happened with photography, videography. I just self-taught, and I just gripped onto it. With running, I then started my YouTube channel, and there was a guy that used to watch the channel, and he had qualified. I don't know if he was recently qualified, but he was an England athletic certified running coach, and he said, you know what, I can help you. And so he gave me a plan, which was really, really good and very kind of him. So I want to say that was about a year and a half to 2 years back, leading to trying to get rid of this PTSD moment of running 10K in like 1 hour and 10. Could I bring it down to just under an hour? And then I set a goal to maybe try to do it sub 50. And that's the first serious mission I had. And I guess my serious start to what has sort of become who I am now in terms of my relationship with running. So I'd say about a year and a half. So.
And I was going to say, how much do you feel like you've moved the needle? So like, do you remember what that first 10K was versus what your 10K PB is now?
Yeah, you know what? It's. I'm going to connect to what you just said, not knowing that you can actually improve your aerobic base. Just last week, I'm training for a marathon, but I'm sure we'll get into that later on. And I went out to do a zone 2 run. And I ran 10K in zone 2, faster than what I used to run ever before. And the first time when I heard about zone 2, I tried it. And sorry, I don't speak miles. I speak Ks. And I remember running zone 2, the duration of that run, an average pace of 9 minute per K pace. That got down to 8:30. For the first time last week, I've run it under 7 minutes per K pace in zone 2. Now, that is not even about running anymore. That is, you almost have to put running aside and go, my heart is doing this better than it's ever done before. Or my body is running this distance at a quicker time better than it's ever done before. And to me, I think last week was a big shift in my mind, even though I've been in this running space a while. But for it to kind of tell me, whoa, I've kept my heart rate within this range, beats per minute, and I'm running that much faster. That last week, honestly, and I guess this shows how new I am, but last week was honestly a big epiphany. Like, whoa, what's happening here? And I went very vocal and loud in my training vlog. You get to see it if you watch the vlog, but it hit me like, what's going on here? You know, below 7 minutes, what's happening? So I'd say last week. That's how new I am.
No, it's really awesome. That was like the third component. I said, you know, the Nike app, or, you know, you say Nike, right? Yeah, you know, but to be side note, Nike makes more sense. It does. You know, it's like,
all I'm saying is I don't ride a bikey.
yeah, no, right? And who's the face of Nike? Mikey Jordan or Mike Jordan or Mike, bro? You know, it's Mike. Yeah, everyone wants to be like Mike.
Yeah,
Everyone want to be like
beaten
Mike.
up on my channel by you guys across the pond. Another one is Puma.
No, I like to stir it up sometimes with the Adidas, you know, and
Yeah.
you know. All right, so there's the Nike app. There's shin splints, which I've had a couple of doses of, and then, you know, it's something still when I build in speed work, I battle. But I think another one is low heart rate training. Some people go Maffetone method. Some people do zone 2. But it's like this thing. And it really helps as a beginner to do a big dosage of that. And I remember like my impetus, and we'll get into this now, but like what your why was. And COVID happened, and the gyms closed down, and I was like, I just turned 40, people were 40 and they were dying, and I was like, you know, I need to fortify my lungs. I didn't know anything, you know. I was like, I need to get into running, and I had done the gym and then get on the treadmill, and that's the only way that I knew what 5K was. You know, it has a translator on there, 3.12 miles. And I was like, oh, okay. How fast can I do that? And that's all I kind of want to do. And then one day I had this crazy notion, like, how far could I run pretty hard? And then I would just be tired and I would just be done. And it was about 17K, translating it. And then I was like, well, I know 21K is a thing, or like 13 miles. So let me go ahead and finish that out. And I did. And I was exhausted. I think I had some Gatorade or something. And then I went to bed and I woke up with like the shivers, the chills. And I was like, man, I'm never doing that again. That was so dumb. I didn't know you could train for those things, but I remember my pace, and I did it in an hour and 48 minutes. And then, 2 years later, I was doing a run in zone 2, and I realized I had that same moment that you had. I looked down and I was like, whoa, this was the pace that I ran that first half marathon, And I just remember thinking at the end of every hard effort, I can't get I can maybe squeeze 5 seconds more, but like I can't get any faster, and it's just such a surreal feeling to be able to get faster over time. It's just like, wow, an easy effort, and then start thinking like the pros, they're running 6 minute 6:30s, and it's easy for them as they're feeling the same effort at a 3:45 a kilometer. But that was my why. The COVID, that's what got me into running. What was your why? What got you into running?
I had two phases of it. I think the first phase, just general fitness in itself. I had a wake-up call so my son just turned 11. Just before he was born, I was out of shape. And I mean, you ever seen The Nutty Professor?
Yeah.
Right. Not the slim version of him. I was close to the alter ego guy. I was completely out of shape. And whilst I'm not one to focus on physical appearance, bashing appearances in terms of builds and all this kind of stuff, I went to have a health assessment, and it didn't come back very positive. And I was welcoming my child, and I realized I needed to do something. Simply because of the childhood I had and the role that my father played to me, I knew that's the kind of dad I wanted to be with this guy. My dad dragged us around to his basketball games. He played in the Malawian league. I come from Malawi, and any game that the man was playing, there were two little boys by his side. When there were game pictures, when you line up the basketball team, there were two kids on either side, and I've got several pictures like that. And I was like, wait, I want to give my kid the same experience. So I got into the gym, and like I was saying, I'm very obsessive, very impulsive, and I just have to do it. Long story short, I was very, very close to making a call. Actually, I might try appear on some bodybuilding stage. That's how it got. When you get all vascular and all this kind of stuff. Just let's put a disclaimer here. All natty, nothing being added in terms of chemicals.
Noted for the record.
But that side of fitness, of health, I found to be quite vain. There's a lot of vanity. There's a lot of commercial objectives and all this kind of stuff. And I kind of steered away from it. And within that kind of steering away, I didn't have that health and fitness thing. Until I started trying to run and I realized how bad I was at running, I was like, no, I'm not letting this happen. I could not run about 5 minutes without having to stop. Like that can't be right. I'm watching all these people that do this. And I thought, I'm going to give this a go. And I decided I'm not going to let it defeat me. Let me actually look into it. So I'm highly academic. I study the heck out of everything to understand the science behind it. So, and I'll always tell people this way, that the Clark Kent side of me is a chartered accountant, and I head up a risk management department at a bank. You might not tell it, but I'm a nerd at heart, and I love anything nerdy that you have to understand the theory behind and all this kind of stuff. That's my kind of thing. And I decided to make running one of these things where I studied my own body, studied what running is, what it does, got serious about YouTube channels, subscribed to every existing YouTube channel there ever was. And when this running coach then says, actually, I'll try and help you out, because I wanted to document the whole journey, hence my channel. That is my why. It will always come back to trying to be healthier and better for my children. let me not make myself sound like this kumbaya dad. I found actually no, there's a lot of selfishness here too. This is the one thing that I actually do just for me. You know, it's the one thing that is left where I'm not an employee, where I'm not a fiance, where I'm not a dad, where I'm not. This is the one thing that is just Aubrey. You know, so it's that sort of kept me onto it. But that was the start, and trying to be in better shape and trying to be around for my kid.
Awesome. Yeah, I really relate to a lot of that. Have you ever taken the Myers-Briggs test?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you an architect? I know that stuff's like horoscopes for corporate, you know, they're like they love that stuff. They're like, "You're an architect, aren't you?" I'm like, "I am an architect." They're like, "Yeah, I bet you. I bet." Do you know what your type is? Do you remember?
I can't remember
Oh
off the top
god.
of my heart, off the top of my head. But there is one that is what's more practical, extroverted practical is the summary that it is.
Okay.
The extroverted part's absolutely right. Practical, I don't know because I like to understand the theory side before I practice anything, but absolutely, and I live for things like that because it helps you understand not only yourself but the people around you and how you interact with them. You know, so
Oh yeah, no. Every corporation I've been around, they love that one and Strength Finder 2.0. You know, they love that one. They're like, "Here, take this. What are your strengths?" You know. So we can hop into the present. So you've been
yeah,
running about a year and a half.
yeah.
All right, and the beginner journey usually evolves into longer distances. And I know that I worked myself up the courage to do a half marathon, and then close to 2 years in, I finally ran my first marathon. You are signed up for your first marathon. What marathon is that, and how are you feeling about it?
Do you know what I feel great. Honestly, I feel great because of how it's come about, and it makes me feel stupidly privileged. Where without any mental resilience, you could get that imposter syndrome coming in. But I've sort of understand the context. But I'm doing Berlin Marathon. It's not just Berlin Marathon. It's Berlin Marathon at its 50th anniversary. It's Berlin Marathon 50th anniversary, running it with Adidas and the good people at Believe in the Run. Who the heck has been running for as little as I have for their first marathon does that? You know, so it's possible that I might just, I don't know, manage half and then die. I don't, I don't know. But for all I could do right now, I feel great. But what makes me feel really good is for whatever reason, somebody somewhere has seen it fit to consider me for such an opportunity. And it is recognizing that and coming from a place of gratitude. That's what kicks my butt every morning when I don't feel like doing my run that day, going, wait, perspective, shut up and get your shoes on, go, but the long runs are ramping up. Tomorrow, I'm running a half marathon. And that is, to me, even that's mind blowing because a half marathon is something that I took 10 weeks to train for, and I ran that 1:59. I'm doing it now as a workout. I'll come back, gotta go take the kids out for the bike rides. Whereas when I did it last time, I swear I could have gone off work for like a week because I couldn't walk, So honestly, I feel great to be in this position. And these things that kind of make me feel great, standard for other people. Like, have you seen that Joanna guy?
Yeah, I've interviewed him. Yeah, I like Yuana.
Honestly, I love the guy. And also big shout out to him because I saw him on Running Warehouse's series of videos where they featured him. It was so good to see. You know how in the NBA you've got like class of such and such. There's certain YouTube channels that have sort of popped up around my time of doing this, and so seeing him feature on something like that, I was so proud because so happy for him. But anyway, this guy is an actual freak of nature where he takes out a shoe, goes running it, and he literally uploads the whole run. And some of the runs, the mileage he's doing, is stuff that you have to train for, So to me, I feel great, Andrew. I feel amazing for the opportunity, the privilege that has sort of been bestowed on me, and I think it's amazing to have that as a vote of confidence by such big brands. But just as in my own running journey, there couldn't have been better motivation, a better opportunity for your first ever marathon.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, technically, to be fair, we want to say, as much as I love Joanna, he's not a midlifer, okay? He's a young lifer, a young buck. He's a stud, you know?
There you go.
He's
Well,
got
I'm
those,
jumping on
those
it.
legs, you know?
No,
I
you're
think
right.
he's set to retire at 44, which is my age now. So, I feel good. But yeah, no, I remember starting, and it was probably 35, 40 miles, a week that I was running. I was following a plan when I finally got into like a Hanson's half marathon plan. Then I got up to about 50 miles or 80K, where that was kind of like, okay, this is about as much as I can do. And then, after another year, maybe it was like 60 miles or about 100K that I could average a week. And then now I look at it kind of like you said, it's like the bounce back. I can, I like it. What my coach prescribes is by time. So it's like 50 minutes or 60 minutes. And I'm not really looking at the mileage. And then at the end of the week, then I look in and I'm like, oh, I did 80K. I did 50 miles. Wow. Like I wasn't even paying attention to it. And I'm still rebounding from a lot of that and taking the kids out, doing stuff, going places,
Right.
doing things, and being very active. So now I've got to the point where in the last marathon build, it increases and it increases. And I think that kind of builds over time. And I heard Joanna talking in one of those videos that he had that jump. His body could barely handle 80 and then miles a week. And then he made that jump to like 100 miles. And, it's just mind blowing to me. But you see the pros have been doing it, but they've been running for 10, 15, 20 years, so it's just one of those things that kind of builds over time.
I'm telling you now, I'm watching this mileage with a microscope because I'm going to tell everyone, listen, this week it's gone up again. This week is gone up again. And so I want to say I'm using this app. So it starts off introducing you because you tell it, what's your level of running? I told it, this is my first marathon. Week 1, 21K. That is somebody's one run, right? Week 2, it takes you to 23 or 24. And then it's eventually ramped up. I had a deload week, then picking it up again. I'm now this week, it's going to close at 42K, okay, for the week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you now, I'm watching that Strava graph go up like this every time. I could frame that thing. It looks beautiful. I'm thinking, wait, hold on. It looks amazing. So it keeps going up. And eventually, before the marathon, I want to say 2-3 weeks before, it sees me doing a 32K run, right? That run is going to be telling. And believe me, I'm going to put it all over my YouTube, on my Instagram. I'm going to tell everyone, listen, don't mess around. Here's my Strava graph. Don't mess around. Because there was a time, Andrew, that I couldn't do 5K. So you're a much better man than me. You're going to be humble about it and stay modest. But me, no. If I could, I'd put it in a newspaper. I'd tell CNN. I'd tell everyone, listen, I just ran this mileage per week. So that's the plan. And I think the other bit that's sort of making me vocal about this running that I'm doing, at the start of the year, I had a torn in my lumbar spine, had a bulging disc with a tear in it. So at the start, you know how YouTubers always tell their goals. Yeah, this year I'm gonna run X amount of Ks in a year, which breaks down to X per month. Long story short, that went out the window. I wasn't running at all. And so being back into it, I'm a bit more grateful for, you know how when you've got a cold or a flu and you can't breathe out your nose and you miss the days when you could.
I'll be so
It's
grateful
like
for those other 340 days. I am. When this is done, every day I wake up, I'm just going to be like, I'm so healthy right now. I feel
That's it.
yeah, I'm there, man.
Absolutely.
Do you have
Absolutely,
any
man.
sort of time goal or any idea for Berlin? Or are you just looking completion for first one, or how you feeling about it?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I want to say I've done a marathon. And I want to tell that story just to be able to say I finished it. Because honestly, it's uncharted territory. It's unknown. I don't know how I'm going to be. The longest run I've done to date. Now, the story of this as well is so superficial and stupid, but I'll tell you anyway. The longest run my body has ever managed to do is 24K. Ever. Right? And I was going out to do a long run. There's a guy on Instagram I follow. His name is Ben Johnson. Right? Nike affiliated American guy. You know him. Yeah? Right, cool. I had done a review of the Vaporfly 3. Right? So here I am. It's a young YouTube channel. I upload it, and that was on a Saturday. I'm out on this run on Sunday. I want to say the plan was 14K. That's what I was going to do. And my Instagram starts going off. Whoa. We've just seen your review. It's really, really well done. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, Ben Johnson has shared it. I was like, what do you mean? It's on his Instagram. It's on his stories. And the way he worded it is like, this is how a review's supposed to be done. Something like that. I'm telling you, I don't care what sort of energy gel you tell me or any performance enhancing drugs they are. I stopped my run. I was like, I can't believe this. And he had messaged me to say, well done. I got all his strength. It's like Samson still had his hair. And I was like, you know what? I'm going all out. Before I knew it, I've gone past where I need to go on my out and back. And I had to get back home. I got back home and I felt great. Don't get me wrong. I was dead for the next 3-4 days because I'd never done this before. But that feeling just never left me, that actually I was doing something, someone's acknowledged it, and it just fired me up. To be able to run that distance and be able to just carry on past the 24K, and that's set for next week, that 24K distance, so, but in a controlled and structured way. I'm excited for that. But to answer your question just a bit more succinctly, I don't have a time goal. I just want to be able to say my body ran a marathon, and I'll take that.
That's awesome. Well, I will say you are looking Hercules. You're looking fit, and it's looking good. The progress is going there. I think the one mistake I probably made, I think, was trying to race my first marathon. If I could go back, I wish I would have just tried to run it and experience it. And
But Andrew, in your mistake, what time did you get?
4:09:08. Because I like to say Stephen Scollion's a 2:09, so I like to say I'm a 4:09 marathoner.
Oh man! So what have you managed to get that time to?
3:02:24. Yeah. So.
Hey man, that's crazy, man. Well done for that.
Yeah, it's good, but I think it was a very painful experience because I just, like Stephen Scollion, speaking of him, he just had a video come out. He's like, I hate racing, and it's kind of like how we as runners, we can overcomplicate it, and I really struggle with that. Like at the beginning, I didn't care. Yeah, I was just running, right? I was just running, I wanted to see how far I could get to the next mailbox, and it was just fun again. It felt like being a kid. We used to grab a skateboard and just like toboggan on it, like down a big driveway or a steep hill, and like come down and just like get on a bike and just fly, and like the wind's going through my hair and just like running. And it's like, man, I haven't done this since I was a kid. This feels so good. And then when COVID ended, I had signed up for my first half marathon. It was the Austin half marathon, which is hilly. I didn't know anything about that. I just signed up for a race. And I had a time goal, sort of, but I just ran and I finished it, and I improved from my time trials around my neighborhood. And then I saw in my age group, I was like 14th, and I was like, wait a second, am I fast? And, you know what I mean? I didn't know relative to anything else. And then I started, and that's like running kind of changed for me. And it became sort of time focused, which is kind of silly, right? Because sometimes my brain can kind of get like that. And it's like, I ran a 10K last weekend. But in the video, Stephen Scully was saying it's like the races can become complicated when we add all this stuff to it and we put all these expectation and all these paces and all this stuff. But the reality is like, can you just go run 10K pretty hard? I mean, that's all we're asking you to do, right? It's like, that's all it is. Just run 10K pretty hard. And it was it's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. I don't know how that's going to affect my pace. All I need to do is just show up and run pretty hard. And so, I think like with the marathon and like with races, it's kind of like getting rid of those, it's good to have like a goal, I guess, for, to shoot for, to aim for. But like when it comes to actually executing, it's just, it doesn't mean anything. I like to joke around. It's like, I'm 44 years old. When I'm done, I don't want my kids to be like, oh yeah, that's my dad. He was really fast. I want them to be like, no, that's my dad. He busted me out of school and took me to Dave and Buster's and we had a great time on my birthday. So
I love Scullion, by the way. He's the first time I shouldn't admit this, but I'll say it anyway. I really started to pay attention to him because the serious running stuff doesn't appeal to me. But he got my attention when he opened up about his mental, his headspace and where he was. I empathized him more than I thought I would. That's the first time I started paying attention, because when he's talking that serious running, all this kind of stuff, I kind of go, I can't relate to anything you're saying. I don't do double runs. What are you talking about? I've already run today. I'm not going to run tomorrow. I'll probably run the day after that. So I can't relate to all you're saying. Up until that moment, it kind of exposed me to there's a resilience that comes with running. And when he opened up about stuff like that, I realized actually there's a lot to this. There's a lot to this that I hadn't really even thought of, but I focus now on the opposite side, where I don't get the negativity, the mental negativity from running. I get it from all these other things that I do, but I bring it to running because I found a way of headphones in and just running. When I come home, I give these people a whole different person than when I left, and I connected that in my head because he spoke about what running meant to him, and he was starting to lose sight of that, whereas I was starting to find it. So I really love that channel. He's amazing.
Yeah, no, and I would say like our channels are very similar in that like we're here for entertainment, and we're and it's really like we're not authorities in this space. We just got into it later in life. We're not going to have the here's 5 things you need to know about these things, right? But that's not to say that they're not educational in a way, because it's like, hey, come learn with me, as we go on this journey, which is why I want to do this interview. It's like it's for people who are getting starting into running. Like you, I couldn't really, I watched SJD, I watched Kafuzi, but anybody who was like really fast and made their content about, the sub 220 or the Olympics, like I couldn't relate to that. It's like those are fast guys. So what would you say, to put it in terms, like 3 tips you've learned or 3 lessons you've learned as a beginning runner that you could maybe share for other people who are just getting into running?
I say the first thing, and this is the most important: embrace who and where you are. It's tough. It's tough when, like you're saying, there's some excellent YouTube channels that are just wasted on me. They're absolutely wasted because they're talking all these things that will never happen to me, And a good example of it, I did a run where I was paced by excellent runners. This guy, Ben Felton, Ben is running. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. And another one, Cole, that paced me to my first ever sub 50, right? And this guy is Cole, right? He's running and we're filming. He's narrating what's happening. And he says, do you know what? It was tough for me because I had to weave people. I had to sort of go around people because there were people running in front of me, right? To him, it wasn't being cocky. It wasn't an arrogant statement, but he'd never, well, I shouldn't say never, but this is not his normal racing experience. That there are people having to wave. He's having to weave and sort of avoid it as if these people are obstacles. Whereas I've never run a race where there's never been people in front of me. You know what I mean? And so we all have these different experiences, and comparison, I'm telling you, is a killer of all joy. And as soon as I then learned that actually I'm going to look epic in my 4K resolution, sick content, running 5K in 35 minutes, and I'm okay with that. Hey, let's do it, okay? I'll give you all the stats that I did in doing that. The fact that my heart rate was 194 BPM, when I came last. I'll tell you all about it. Slowly, I start getting better, but I haven't lost that mentality. So for me, I think one, just embrace whatever your pace is, wherever you are with running. If you have to walk to be in zone 2, walk, okay? Just embrace and start with where you are with what you have. You don't need to have that kind of shoe, even though people like me worse than that problem, because I'm now getting sent all these shoes and I'm talking all these shoes. I give you this pressure that you need to have these shoes. No, honestly, you don't. Just be where you are. Do what you can with what you have. I think the second thing I would say is find your tribe. That is one thing that I don't have, but I'm learning that my tribe is in many different ways. Even the gesture that you've pulled to me to go, hey, let's have a chat about this, because guess what? This is a runner, that's a dad, that's in my age group. That already says something. So if you and me lived locally close together, we could find a schedule that works, Whereas I've got these young runners over here that can run, 9 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock is unheard of for running for me, So if you don't, and you sort of force yourself within the wrong tribe, you find reasons why you can't maintain this newfound craft that you've got. And I think lastly, that skateboard analogy you just said just explains it. Don't lose the childlike, childishness, fun side of what you're doing. Because if ever this becomes a chore, if ever this becomes, like even this YouTube thing, I will not produce a video. I will not feel pressured. I will not feel like I have to hit a certain target, because I've got a real life job, a real life family. Believe me, I do this YouTube stuff simply because it's what I like doing. The day that starts feeling like, you have to release this video, I'm not going to do it that long. So I think to summarize, just start where you are with what you have. Second, find your tribe. And then third, don't lose sight of why you started and the fun side of it. Find the fun in it and focus on it and keep it.
Yeah, I relate on the YouTube stuff, because there's like very fewer people who are like running, but then also dadding, and then also have this YouTube. So it's like at the bottom of the totem pole. But I mean, I have fun doing it. It's an outlet for my creative side. But sometimes I'll feel the pressure because I think I skipped one week, and then some of the subscribers like reached out and they're like, "Hey man, by the way, your video normally pops up on my home feed, but I didn't see it, so I had to search for it." And then I think that happened early on, and I think it scarred me a little bit. And I was like, I have to post once a week, or YouTube's gonna do me dirty, So I'll be forgotten. But usually
what's your schedule? What's your publishing schedule?
Well, I try to publish on Sundays, and then I made a commitment to just say, you know what? I'm going to post on Wednesdays and on Sundays, and then I'm just going to find it. And then one will be like have more effort into the editing that will require a lot more, and the other one will just be more casual, and it's just kind of whatever. So it's just like sharing the story more. It doesn't have to be. I really fight the perfectionism thing. And, like my channel in a lot of ways is the opposite of yours. The production value is sick. I have a singular light. I have a GoPro. I have like one microphone. And then, like I just rely on personality. And you have a great personality also. It's just like I'm not able to produce with the production value. So it's kind of like, okay, just turn the camera on and just share the story, whatever it is. And, today
you're doing amazing, my man. You're doing amazing. There was a video I've just watched. I want to say Neil Vista versus Skyward X.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I could be making it up. There's a guy who commented on that video of yours and said, it's always bad when they comment with comparisons to other channels, but it's like, you know what, I can't be bothered watching the intro where you're running first before you start telling me about the shoes. And he appreciates how you just get into it. What I like anyway is you really fuse in your own personality. There's a quirkiness in what you do. There's a quirkiness in your humor and how you fuse that all in. Whilst you might, the way you phrased it, I don't think you meant it as if the personality bit is a crutch, but it's why I'll come to your channel. If I want to see in-depth analysis about the foam being used over here, Sagasso Running has me covered. If I want to watch we'll go to these channels for different things. And for yours, I found it to be relatable in the sense that actually, you know what, you just tell me about how you had the experience with the shoe. I felt it was a privilege that you asked me to jump on here too. So absolutely, I'm a fan.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, man. Yeah, like when I started watching your channel, it was funny because a lot of times the home feed will throw whatever your way, whatever you've been watching. And there are some channels that I watch that are almost like topic based. If, I'll watch it if I'm interested in whatever it is they're talking about. Right. Except for trail shoes. I will never click on a trail shoe. I don't run in trail shoes. I don't. It's like, Aubrey, whenever you review a trail shoe, just know ahead of time, bro. I give you some watch time hours, bro, but I'm not going to be paying too close attention. But like your channel, you could have a topic that I'm not particularly interested in at that time, but I always click it. And, I think it's just your life is just so relatable to mine that like, I could, watch you and the kids go shopping for food, the vloggy style stuff, like along with the 10Ks and whatever, like I'm here for the journey as well. And I think even though we have probably different preferences in shoes, it doesn't really matter. Like I have the opposite preferences, I think, of Joanna also. And yet if he's like, I really love this shoe, I'm like, I'll probably hate that shoe, And if he's like, I hate this shoe, I'm like, or he doesn't like a shoe, and then I'm like, oh, I need to go get that one right away. I'll probably love it, because there's value in it. It doesn't have to be.
And I think for me, you hit the nail on the head there. You kind of go, right, okay, fine. I might not necessarily like the same things as this person, but you've sort of formed an affinity with a channel. And at heart, I'm just a fan of all these channels. Like some people will try and comment on my videos to calm down a little bit about how excited I feel about meeting so-and-so and all this kind of stuff to get me to chill out. No, I'm a fan of what we're doing over here, and to be sort of put in the same field as these names is a big deal,
Yeah. Oh no, I feel 100%. I mean, I've been watching all the channels since I started, and I live in this little bubble, and then where it's like, my family, my work, I run, and then I go out to like a marathon, and then you start getting recognized, right? Because it's like,
hey, I saw that on your video one time. I think it was, I don't know if it was your missus that was somebody or your family. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it was for the Houston Marathon, and
yes.
I was just trying to tell her like, hey, I don't know what to expect, but like, so there might be one or two people who watch the channel, and in theory there's 5,000 or 6,000 people who watch it, right? And they're runners, and there's going to be a lot of runners here. And she's like, okay. A little pat on the shoulder. All right. Aw, okay. He thinks,
I remember seeing that.
And then at mile 25, Kafuzi's sitting there like, come on, Andrew. And I'm like, dude, talk about a bolt of injury. It's like, I'm listening to the live stream every day. He's in my ear, it's like, wait, me, And so, and it's the same thing. Like watching your channel, watching Floberg, Joanna, and then talking to you guys. It's still like, I'm a fan of you guys' work as much as anybody else, And so I'm not put off at all whenever you're just like, oh my God, I want to believe in the run, Like I'm running Berlin with this stuff, Like I would be.
So I'm walking up to these guys and
the
they're
same way.
saying, hey, Aubrey, look, whoa, And I know there's an element of naivety, there's an innocence there that needs to be preserved. But I sincerely hope we don't ever lose that. Where you're at an event and someone calls you by your name, that's mind-blowing, you know? Especially if it's, not to say like you're normal people, but it's someone who you followed all this time and inspired you, the people at the running channel. So there's certain things that when you're doing this activity, you go to that shop, okay? So if you're doing DIY at your house, do you have a standard brand that everyone goes to?
Yeah, one of two, Home Depot or Lowe's, yeah.
Right. It's simple. It's like that. You want to go to video streaming, everyone knows Netflix, right? Here, when it comes to running, it's the running channel, right? I'm at the National Running Show, which is our equivalent of TRE for you guys. There I am fanboying with my camera. I'm going to the running channel stand, right? I'm there with my camera. And Andy, who's basically the Olympian, who's the founder of AUBREY. What's going on? Sorry, what? What? You know? Went on this trip to Germany with Adidas. Even that, just saying that is, what am I saying, you know? And I'm meeting Kofuzi and I'm meeting Thomas, you know, Megan from Believe in a Run. And they know who I am to a point where I'm running with them. Come on, you know? We truly are blessed to be doing what we do.
Keep the same energy. Work on being better when I'm 70. Your drip is just a water spring. You know I drip different, just the 7 seas.